Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. With the Ambassador Lounge second episode, we have a topic which is very relevant to this time. President Donald Trump has taken over as the 47th President of the United States of America. Probably in the political history of the United States of America, he is the only one who has made a comeback after losing first term, after losing the election in previous elections. We are going to talk about him. Our topic would be President Trump 2.0, his tenure and what would be his policies. He is known by his characteristic as unpredictable and traditional breakers. We have now with us Ambassador Asif Durrani, who is going to talk to us about the President Trump's second term, and my colleague Ambassador Tanveer Khaskhali is also joining me to ask certain questions relevant to President Trump's second term. So my first question from Ambassador Asif Durrani would be, how would you see President Trump's second term when he has made a comeback after losing his 20 elections?
Thank you, Amjad. In fact, President Trump's second arrival, or you can say his second avatar, is going to cause many ripples in the domestic politics as well as in international politics. While his emphasis is towards America first, that has been his election plank. He has been pleading for America first. But at the same time, he cannot get away with the rest of the world, because the maxim that if America sneezes, the world catches the cold cannot go away with the arrival of Trump. So those problems are going to be very much there, and Trump will have to deal with that. And if you go by Trump's 1.0, so we can see that he again pleaded for America first, but he had to be involved in the world affairs. But here, I think there's a difference, and then now we can say with some confidence that during 1.0, President Trump did not initiate any new wars, and this is to his credit. Otherwise, if you look at other presidencies, they had in fact initiated some new wars. And so this was to his credit. He may have been indulging in some rhetoric. Perhaps he has been, if I may use the term crudely, as he has been loudmouth, but at the same time, he has not initiated new wars. And that's a big thing. And hopefully, that in his second stint, he will perhaps contribute towards more peace, or if not more peace, at least he would not initiate new wars. Yes.
So I will continue with this. President Trump has also announced one slogan before election, and that was MAGA, Make America Great Again. Obviously, in his first term, he had stated that to make America great, but now he said he's going to make America great again. At the same time, he also announced certain policies internally. That is, first is that he is going to mass deportation, all illegal immigrants. Second, he is going to start, tariffs, high tariffs on Canada, Mexico, China, and maybe to a certain extent India. And also he is going to have, the new lands like Greenlands and Panama, all these things, unprecedented. And more often he is like in the 60s, President John F. Kennedy was anti-establishment. He is also known to be anti-establishment. How do you see him in this perspective?
I think, Amjad, it's a very valid question, very good question. But that also, in fact, contradicts President Trump's America First dictum, because if it is America First, so what steps he wants to take? You think by raising tariffs he can help America? I don't think so. China is the largest trading partner of the United States, and American economy is actually, it is helping American economy through the cheap imports. Otherwise, American economy as well as employment opportunity and employment scene would have been quite, you can say, bad. And this has not happened. American economy has improved actually. And then if they want to impose those restrictions like on Mexico as far as immigration is concerned, or for that matter immigration from elsewhere in the world, Mr. Trump would be aware of the fact that whatever United States is today is because of the immigrants. And it was in fact a liberal immigration policy that made America great.
And even now, Bishop also requested him to rethink his policy. About
Yes, which he ridiculed. I think he has made up his mind, but at the same time, there are many ifs and buts, and especially from the legal point of view. Whether, for instance, his dictate that there is no birthright which entitles someone to be the citizen of the United States. Actually, that is given in the American Constitution. So, Mr. Trump will have to amend the Constitution. And I don't think that he can muster the necessary majority to amend the Constitution in that manner. Similarly, when he is talking about tariffs, whether it is China or Mexico or Europe or for that matter India, he'll have to negotiate. So negotiation means that he cannot be reclusive about the issues which he has raised. Otherwise, overall, the economy is booming. During Biden's time, economy has been booming. So he cannot say that economy was in a bad shape. Unemployment rate is almost all-time low. Similarly, the per capita GDP has also increased. So these are certain positive signs which Biden administration has left for him. He cannot say that the economy is bad. So under these circumstances, if he goes for drastic measures, I think that will ultimately harm not only his interests, but for the interests of the Republican Party in future.
And Ambassador Tanveer.
Thank you, Asif. I think mine and Amjad's questions will be kind of overlapping because there are certain issues which, the internal or external. I thought of asking because initially we thought of, dividing the sectors, but now since you have already talked about many issues, two issues which are confronting in terms of the war which is going on, like between Israel and Hamas, and also between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
With him in office now, and as you mentioned that, during his first tenure also no wars were initiated and all, or whatever he tried at that time, and since it's more than 4 or 5 years have passed, and all these issues are raised. How do you see, how can he confront and handle the situation as of now? Because once now Israel-Hamas temporary ceasefire has taken place, and between Ukraine and Russia also. And today I think probably he has given some statements also, asking Europeans to help Ukraine, and also telling that, I'll be talking to Mr. Putin myself and all. So how do you see that,
I think you have raised valid question, Tanveer. When it comes to issues in the Middle East, especially with regard to Israel and Gaza, Some Trump loyalists are saying that actually it was his threat which worked and which in fact caused the cessation of hostilities and war. And Israel was also, in a way, was given a veiled threat that they have to stop attacking. How far it's true is the jury is still out. We can't say for sure. But at the same time, I think while during his electioneering he had talked about ending the war in between Israel and Hamas, and it has come into effect. But how long it will continue is yet it can be anybody's guess. But if you look at Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's statements, so he has in fact threatened that after 6 weeks perhaps he can resume those attacks. Let's see. These are whether it's an empty warning or, for that matter, he goes for a whole hog war. But given the past record of President Trump, he is likely to go for a political solution rather than going for the military solution. When it comes to Ukraine, there's some interesting parallels we should not forget. For instance, President Bashar al-Assad left Syria without a fight. It looks as if there was some understanding between him and Russia and the Americans and Turkey to leave Syria without any resistance. And if the conspiracy theorists are to be believed, is that when it comes to Ukrainian war, I think it was Trump's winking about ending the war and then also giving Russia a passage to, in fact, leave. Although still Russian base in Latakia is still there. And then no harm has come to the Russian base, which in fact was a protector of the Assad regime. So the HTS, which is ruling under Mr. Ahmad Bashar, again, it's a big question mark that a former terrorist, a former Al-Qaeda fellow, a former ISK fellow, and he is now ruling. So these are many intriguing questions, and which Trump, who is actually a go-getter in his business life, is trying to apply those tactics in real politics. So let's see if his tactics contribute to bringing peace on the ground, then that should be welcome. But if his tactics, in fact, aggravate the situation, then I think that should be a cause for concern.
Thank you, Tanveer. My question is related to India and United States relations during the second term of President Trump. As you know that Washington has always seen India as a counterweight to assertive China. And it was during last time when President Trump, in the first term, Modi had visited Washington, and President Trump gave him a very warm welcome. And he also addressed a large gathering of Indian diaspora. So how do you see India now in the second term of President Trump to see that whether it is also going to follow line with the United States of America to be a counterweight to China, or India is going to play just to be on the both sides of the border?
Amjad, there are many interesting things we have witnessed vis-a-vis India and the United States. For instance, now it's a big question in India that why Modi was not invited to President Trump's inauguration. Of course, their External Affairs Minister Jaishankar was there. And then secondly, as you have rightly pointed out, Howdy Modi, a big gala was played out in the United States, and also he was invited to India. That was there. But in realpolitik, I think it is now actually Trump has also put India on the notice as far as business is concerned, trade is concerned. Their trade is close to $200 billion, and India is enjoying the concessions. But I think Trump will now assert to apply more duties on the Indian imports than it has been the case.
And there were also certain reports in the media that United States of America is going to impose sanctions on China and India on the oil imports from Russia.
Well, that is
Against
another
this
issue.
backdrop.
That is another issue. I mean, with China, I think China can sustain that, but India, in fact, was enjoying best of both the worlds. It would buy cheaper oil from Russia and then sell it, refine it, and then sell it to Europe on much higher prices, and then it, in fact, bagged a lot of profits. Yes, I'm sure Americans would have been mindful and watchful of the situation. But India has, I think, earned its share of profits with this situation, the Ukrainian situation they have. India also could get away with the situation when it rose due to S-400 missile defense system that India bought from Russia. Turkey had to suffer a lot, but India did not. Whether during Trump's time this will happen, we don't know yet. But at the same time, I think Trump will also try to mend ways with Russia. The kind of relationship he enjoyed with President Putin during his first tenure is also quoted as an example that if America wants to live peacefully with Russia, so it can. And then the example is quoted from the Trump era. But at the same time, I think the American military industrial complex, as well as American businesses and especially corporate businesses, they also play a very major role. And that corporate sector and military industrial complex is also going to actually intervene in the American politics and Trump's future policies.
Thank you, Asif. Since we are talking on different subjects, another interesting, I think, question comes up that as soon as he took over, he signed executive orders of different kinds. I'll be just asking or talking about few. For example, USA leaving WHO, climate change treaty, and
Paris Agreement.
The same. It was basically the same. And he talking about taking over Panama Canal and all these things. Do you think it is? I don't think it's President Trump's own mindset or something. The kind of teams he has or the advisors he has who had been, advising him or telling him to, go ahead with this, knowing the repercussions, or will it sustain or not? Because it's not USA only, there are international things going on, politics or multi-electoral diplomacies and all. How can collect so much in his basket and, and handle in these 4 years?
I think it will be a big challenge. On climate issue, withdrawing from the Paris Agreement, that would be the second time because he withdrew during his first tenure, but Biden came back. This WHO is a new thing, and they want to, and pretext is that it played a partisan role during the COVID, and Chinese could get away with their responsibility, but America had to bear the brunt. But I think, to be fair, Americans were lagging behind as far as dealing with COVID was concerned. They were far, far behind than the
rest
Chinese.
of the world.
Yes. And so he has to admit his failure. It happened under Trump's watch. On other issues, Trump may want to be hardliner, but there are factors which are not under Trump's control, whether it's international businesses or climate change. What is happening now in California is part of the climate change. How they are going, and then the kind of tsunamis which they are now witnessing during the past 4 or 5 years has been unprecedented. This was not the case in the United States. Yes, tornadoes were over there, but the amount of damage it has caused to the American environment is unprecedented. So they just cannot have ostrich-like attitude towards these real issues. And I hope good sense would prevail and the American environmentalists would come forward and be bold enough to challenge Mr. Trump about his own skewed ideas about environment, which he is taking very lightly. So he has to be serious enough on the environment issues also. And hopefully he will reconsider his decision from withdrawal from the Paris Agreement and will join again.
He did it for example, this social media thing, TikTok thing. He was so deadly against, and now at the very first day said, okay, it's allowed now, but it should be a joint venture.
Partnership.
The Chinese and US.
I mean, these are the business tactics.
Tactics to put pressure. And
so
then,
on environment, what kind of a business tactics he wants to apply? That is important because it's an existential threat. Environment, not only to the United States but also in the world. Pakistan itself is a victim. While our contribution is less than 1%, but we are top 10 countries which are vulnerable, which are environmentally vulnerable. So, and then it's not due to Pakistan's fault or Pakistan's. International community will have to come together and then they have to share the responsibility.
Asif, my question is about, Iran. Iran, during the last 15 months, Iran was in the forefront to fight war with Israel through its proxies like Hezbollah, Hamas, Yemen, and even Syria, and also Lebanon war. So how do you see, and Iran has now recently signed a strategic agreement with Russia. So how do you see now during the end, Iran has also announced there are certain media reports that if Iran is pushed more to the wall, Iran might go nuclear. So how do you see President Trump's dealing with Iran in his second term?
In the first term, he did not deal Iran fairly, because it was during President Obama's administration that Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action or JCPOA or nuclear deal was signed between the P5 plus one. Plus one was Germany and the rest were the permanent members. And it was after a year and a half negotiations and over almost 150 pages that the parties could settle for JCPOA. and it was considered to be the best agreement, and it was also being celebrated as a revival of the disarmament dialogue, which was in a limbo, which was in a freeze since the mid-90s. However, with the arrival of Trump, the first casualty was this JCPOA or nuclear deal with Iran. And it also called into question the validity of such international agreements, that if number one superpower in the world can sign the agreement and then withdraw from it. So it in fact called into question the credibility of such agreements. And it would encourage other states to take the same route which the United States had adopted. So it was really a setback to the disarmament machinery. It was a setback to multilateralism. And then sanctions which President Trump imposed on Iran effective from 2018 was again a challenge in a sense that India complied with the sanctions, but China and Russia defied those sanctions. And that's how, when you see the scenario which emerged in the Middle Eastern context, or for that matter, Iran versus the United States. So Iran is now not only, it earlier got S-300, but now it has qualified for S-400 missile defense system. Of course, they had a setback in Syria. They had a setback in Lebanon vis-a-vis Hezbollah and then towards Hamas. But Iran, if you look at the region, Iran is a formidable power. Iran cannot be defeated easily. And more importantly, if today Iran decides that it will choke the Strait of Hormuz, it can do that. And coming back to the issue that whether Iran can go nuclear, if pushed to the wall, I think Iran can very much go there, because Iran has acquired the capability. So it is only the intention which has to change. So already there are two evidences which we should not ignore. And one is former Foreign Minister Karazi's interview with Al Jazeera in 2017, in which he said, 22, that we have acquired the capability, but we have decided not to go the nuclear route or the weapon route. And the latest one was on 3rd January by Vice President for Strategic Affairs and former Foreign Minister Jawad Zarif's article in Foreign Affairs of 3rd January, in which he said that when we signed JCPOA, so we honored our bargain of limiting the enrichment cycle to 3%. But once the United States withdrew from the agreement, so we reached the 60% mark. And so it's a big statement. So he implied that if Iran is pushed to the wall, then I think if you have attained 60%, attaining 90% plus is only a matter of days. So Iran can go to that route also. Yes.
I think much has been asked, but I'll definitely ask with regard to Pakistan-US relations. You see, will the same trend continue as was in the previous presidency, or bit of a change, or change of heart, anything? Though we are not best of their friends, but anyway, do you see any change?
Then technically we are still the non-NATO ally. So,
but it hardly did any effect.
So you can say that when it comes to the United States, don't go by their word. And it was transactional, yes. And In fact, I can prove it that becoming non-NATO ally, in fact, went to against our interests, because the very next day they announced travel advisories against Pakistan. So it was as good or bad as imposing sanctions on Pakistan, that American nationals, or for that matter, NATO member states citizens, they were discouraged to visit Pakistan.
Recently, the White House spokesperson said that Pakistan is a non-NATO ally but an important partner.
Well, if you go by those words, so this important partner was facing travel advisories, which caused business for Pakistan very expensive. Those prospective buyers who intended to come to Pakistan shied away, and the seller had to travel to the destination prescribed by the buyers. Insurance cost went up, transportation cost went up, and insurance on transportation went up. So doing business with Pakistan became expensive. So what kind of benefits we could accrue of becoming a non-NATO ally? So here, if now Trump tries to be harsh against Pakistan, for instance, our inning with Trump began on a negative note when he accused Pakistan of lie and deceit, and accusing that Pakistan, in fact, gobbled billions of dollars but did not support the United States. Again, I think he was misinformed. If we open the accounts today, United States still owes Pakistan more than $3 billion on coalition support funds, which they did not refund.
And the other loss during the one war and what all has happened, yeah.
I mean, but I'm talking of the latest figures, which are, in fact, which the United States owes to Pakistan. So they, being the superpower, can have different pretexts, and this pretext of not engaging with Pakistan, or say pressurizing Pakistan, would be they have exercised it in recent days. For instance, first time President Trump's special envoy Grenell, he accused Pakistan of its missile program as a threat to United States interests.
It was very strange.
And earlier they imposed sanctions on 4 of our entities.
This is the second time they've done it. They've done before
so these are the pretexts they have made, ignoring the fact that what are Pakistan's security concerns and how Pakistan is going to address those concerns.
My last question, this is about the world is now in, especially with the coming of President Donald Trump, this is unusual timings. The world is already in a tripolar world, China, Russia, and United States of America. And now BRICS is also coming up, threatening the authority is vis-a-vis dollar versus other currencies also coming up, and the United States has already issued warnings to the BRICS countries. Do you think the new world order is in the making, replacing the old one, and now the world is going to be multipolar?
And not anytime soon, as far as BRICS currency business within the member states, that different countries are already doing that. It is just not the BRICS. Yes, this trend can become a fashion in the international business transactions, which United States is scared of and should be scared of, because Trump is credited with pushing the United States from multilateralism to unilateralism. And that would ultimately be against the interest of the United States. And more than that, now the world is multipolar. So, and gone are the days that the United States was the unquestioned superpower of the world after the fall of the Soviet Union. Now you have also seen how the new realities are coming up, new countries, new multipolar centers of power are coming up, mostly from the economic perspective, economic point of view. And then don't forget China. In purchasing power parity terms, China has already overtaken the United States. Technologically, China is now far ahead, and it is posing a real danger or threat to the United States. But to quote President Xi, that who advised the previous American administration that this world is so vast that there is a room for both China and the United States to work together. Rather than indulging in competition, they can adopt a cooperative approach to address multifaceted problems which the world is facing. Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching Ambassador Lounge. We had a very exhaustive and detailed discussions on the inauguration of President Trump for his as president for the second term. I hope you have enjoyed it. Stay tuned. There are a lot of hopes and apprehensions about President Donald Trump for his second term. Let's hope that the world will remain a peaceful place for all of us to live in. Thank you very much.